Saving Beauty by Byung-Chul. Once I heard him. He was washing the world, unseen, night-long, real, one and infinite, annihilated, id. Light was salvation. Paul Celan. Chapter 1. The Smooth. The smooth is the signature of the present time. It connects the sculptures of Jeff Koons, iPhones, and Brazilian waxing. Why do we today find what is smooth beautiful? Beyond its aesthetic effect, it reflects a general social imperative. It embodies today's society of positivity. What is smooth does not injure, nor does it offer any resistance. It is looking for like. The smooth object deletes its against. Any form of negativity is removed. The aesthetics of the smooth is also adopted by smartphones. The LG G Flex is even covered with a self-healing skin, which makes any scratch, that is, any trace of an injury, disappear within the shortest of times. It is invulnerable, so to speak. The artificial skin of this smartphone keeps it smooth at all times. It is also flexible and bendable, with a slight curvature so as to perfectly follow the contours of the face and back pocket. This adaptability and absence of resistance are essential characteristics of the aesthetics of the smooth. Smoothness is not limited to the outside of the digital apparatus. Communication via digital apparatus also appears smoothed out, as it is mostly polite remarks, even positivities, which are exchanged. Sharing and like represent communicative means for smoothening. Negativities are eliminated because they represent obstacles to accelerated communication. Jeff Koons, arguably the most successful living artist at present, is a master of smooth surfaces. Andy Warhol also professed his commitment to beautiful, smooth surfaces, but his art still had the negativity of death and disaster inscribed into it. His surfaces are not entirely smooth. The series Death and Disaster, for instance, still lives off negativity. In Jeff Koons' work, by contrast, there exists no disaster, no injury, no ruptures, also no seams. Everything flows in soft and smooth transitions. Everything appears rounded, polished, smoothed out. Jeff Koons' art is dedicated to smooth surfaces and their immediate effect. It does not ask to be interpreted, to be deciphered, or to be reflected upon. It is an art in the age of like. Jeff Koons says that an observer of his works should only admit a simple wow. It seems that his art does not require any judgment, interpretation, or humanetics, no reflection or thought. It intentionally remains infantile, banal, imperturbably relaxed. Imperturbably. Disarming and disburdening. It has been emptied of any depth, any shallows, any profound sense. Thus, his motto is, to take the observer into your arms. Nothing is meant to shake, injure, or shock the observer. Art, according to Jeff Koons, is nothing but beauty, joy, and communication. Just an aside, I was watching Aliens, the movie, and there was so much anxiety, but it was beautiful. And Sigourney Weaver, main actress, was phenomenal. And though this movie was filled with anxiety. It was clear that that was the intention. That's why you watch the movie, and I couldn't look away. Like, despite feeling all this negativity and tension, I couldn't stop watching. It's beautiful, and it's art, and it's the art of negativity. So, highly recommend that movie. And I think H.R. Geiger made some art, visual art, that was a similar vibe, actually, kind of inspired the visuals in the movie. So let's get back. His smooth sculptures cause a haptic compulsion to touch them, even the desire to suck them. His art lacks a negativity that would demand distance. It is the positivity of smoothness alone that causes the haptic compulsion. It invites the observer to take an attitude without distance, to touch. An aesthetic judgment, however, presupposes a contemplative distance. The art of the smooth abolishes such distance. Haptic compulsion and the desire to suck can only arise in an art of the smooth that is devoid of meaning. Hegel, who emphatically held on to the arts being meaningful, therefore limited the sensual in the arts to the two theoretical senses of sight and hearing. They alone have access to meaning, while smell and taste are excluded from the enjoyment of art. The latter are only susceptible to the agreeable, which is not the beauty of art, for smell, taste, and touch have to do with matter as such and its immediately sensible qualities. Smell with material volatility in air, taste with the material liquefaction of objects, touch with warm, cold, smoothness, etc. The smooth only conveys an agreeable feeling, which cannot be connected with any meaning or profound sense. It exhausts itself in a wow. In his mythologies, Roland Barthes points out the haptic compulsion which is triggered by the new Citroën DS. It is well known that smoothness is always an attribute of perfection because its opposite reveals a technical and typically human operation of assembling. Christ's robe was seamless, just as the airships of science fiction are made of unbroken metal. The DS-19 has no pretensions about being as smooth as cake icing, although its general shape is very rounded. Yet it is the dovetailing of its sections which interests the public most. One keenly fingers the edges of the windows. One feels along the wide rubber grooves which link the back window to its metal surround. There are in the DS the beginnings of a new phenomenology of assembling, as if one progressed from a world where elements are welded to a world where they are juxtaposed and hold together by sole virtue of their wondrous shape, which of course is meant to prepare one for the idea of a more benign nature. As for the material itself, it is certain that it promotes a taste for lightness in its magical sense. Here the glass surfaces are not windows, openings pierced in a dark shell. They are vast walls of air and space with the curvature, the spread, and the brilliance of soap bubbles. Jeff Koons' seamless sculptures also look like brilliant, weightless soap bubbles made of air and emptiness. Like the seamless DS, they confer a feeling of perfection, of lightness in a magical sense. They embody a perfect and optimized surface without depth and shallows. For Roland Barthes, the sense of touch is the most demystifying of all senses, unlike sight, which is the most magical. The sense of sight keeps a distance, while the sense of touch destroys it. Without distance, there can be no mysticism. Demystification lets everything become available for enjoyment and consumption. The sense of touch destroys the negativity. of what is wholly other. It secularizes what it touches. In contrast to the sense of sight, touch is incapable of wonderment. The smooth touch screen, therefore, is a place of demystification and total consumption. It produces what one likes. Jeff Koons' sculptures are as smooth as a mirror, so to speak, allowing the observer to see him or herself mirrored in them. On the occasion of the exhibition at the Bayeler Foundation, he remarked on his balloon dog. The balloon dog is really a wonderful object. It wants to confirm the observer in their existence. I often work with reflecting, mirroring materials because they automatically raise the confidence of the viewer. Of course, in a dark room, that doesn't work. But if you stand right in front of the object, you are reflected in it and assured of yourself. End quote. The balloon dog is not a Trojan horse. It does not hide anything. There is no inwardness hidden behind its smooth surfaces. As in the case of the smartphone, you only encounter yourself and not the other when faced with the highly polished sculptures. The motto of Koons' art, the core is always the same. Learn to trust yourself in your own history. That is also what I want to convey to the observer of my work. The observer is meant to feel their own love of life. Art opens up an echo chamber in which I assure myself of my own existence. The alterity or negativity of the other and the alien is eliminated altogether. Jeff Koons' art possesses a soteriological dimension. It promises salvation. The world of smoothness is a culinary world, a world of pure positivity, in which there is no pain, no injury, and no guilt. The balloon Venus sculpture, shaped in birth position, is Jeff Koons' Holy Mary. Yet she does not give birth to a savior, a homo dolores with a crown of thorns whose body is covered by wounds, but to champagne, a bottle of Dom Perignon, Rose Vintage 2003, which is inside her belly. Jeff Koons presents himself as a Baptist promising salvation. It is no coincidence that there is a sequence of images from 1987 titled Baptism. Jeff Koons' art practices a sacralization of the smooth. He stages a religion of the smooth, the banal, even a religion of consumption. In their service, all negativity is to be eliminated. For Gadamer, negativity is essential to art. It is its wound. It is opposed to the positivity of the smooth. There is something there which shakes me, an inner turmoil which questions me and appeals to me. You must change your life. It is the fact that a particular thing such as this exists that constitutes the additional something. As Rilke says, such a thing stood among men. This fact that it exists, its facticity, represents an unsurmountable resistance against any superior presumption that we can make sense of it all. The work of art compels us to recognize this fact. There is no place that fails to see you. You must change your life. A push comes from the work of art. It pushes the observer down. The smooth has an altogether different intentional nature. It adapts to the observer, elicits a like from him or her. All it wants is to please and not to knock over. Today, the beautiful itself is smoothed out by taking any negativity, any form of shock or injury out of it. The beautiful is exhausted in a like it. Aestheticization turns out to be anestheticization. It sedates our perception. Thus, Jeff Koons' wow is also an anesthetic reaction that is diametrically opposed to the negative experience of shock, of being knocked over. Today, the experience of beauty is impossible. where the wish to please, the like, edges its way into the foreground. Experience, which is impossible without negativity, withers. Smooth visual communication takes place in the form of contagion without any aesthetic distance. The unbroken visibility of the object at the same time destroys the gaze. Only the rhythmic oscillation between presence and absence, veiling and unveiling, keeps the gaze awake. The erotic also depends on the staging of an appearance as disappearance, on the undulations of the imaginary. The pornographic, uninterrupted presence of the visible destroys the imaginary. Paradoxically, it presents nothing to see. Today, not only the beautiful, but also the ugly becomes smooth. The ugly also loses the negativity of the diabolical, of the uncanny and terrifying, and is smoothened out, a formula for consumption and enjoyment. It lacks entirely the fear and terror-inducing gaze of the Medusa, which petrifies everything. The ugly that was used by the artists and poets of the fin de siècle possessed something abysmal and demonic. The surrealist politics of the ugly served the purpose of provocation and emancipation. It marked a radical break from inherited patterns of perception. Bataille saw in the ugly possibilities for overcoming boundaries and for liberation. For him, it offers access to transcendence. No one doubts the ugliness of the sexual act. Just as death does in sacrifice, the ugliness of the sexual union makes for anguish. But the greater the anguish, the stronger the realization of exceeding the bounds, and the greater the accompanying rush of joy. The essence of sexuality, according to this, is excess and transgression. It delimits consciousness. This is what constitutes its negativity. Today, the entertainment industry exploits the ugly and disgusting, making it consumable. Disgust is originally a state of alarm, an emergency, an acute crisis of self-preservation in the face of an unassimilable otherness, a convulsive struggle in which what is in question is quite literally whether to be or not to be. The disgusting is the non-consumable par excellence. The disgusting has an existential dimension also for Rosencrantz. It is the other of life, the other of form, putrefaction. A corpse is a scandalous phenomenon because it still has a form, although it is in itself formless. Due to the still existing form, it retains the semblance of life, despite being dead. The negation of the beautiful form of an appearance through a non-form originating in physical or moral decay. The appearance of life in what is dead in itself is what is infinitely repulsive in disgust. The disgusting as the infinitely repulsive evades any form of consumption. The disgusting which is today presented in the Dschungel camp lacks any negativity that might trigger an existential crisis. It is smoothened out into a form for consumption. Brazilian waxing makes the body smooth. It represents today's compulsive hygiene. The essence of eroticism, for Bataille, is soiling, and accordingly, compulsive hygiene would be its end. Dirty eroticism gives way to clean pornography. Depilated skin in particular, gives the body a pornographic smoothness, which is felt to be pure and clean. Today's society, obsessed with cleanliness and hygiene, is a society of positivity which feels disgust at any kind of negativity. The hygienic compulsion takes hold of other areas as well. Everywhere prohibitions are announced in the name of hygiene. Robert Fowler is right when he says in his Das Schmutzig, Heilig und die reine Vernunft, the dirty, sacred, and pure reason. If one tries to characterize by their common features those things which have, unnoticed, become impossible in our culture, one finds, first of all, that these things are often experienced as objects of disgust, as dirty. From the perspective of hygienic reason, any ambivalence and any secret are also perceived to be dirty. Pure is transparency, and things become transparent when they fit into the smooth streams of information and data. Data have something pornographic and obscene about them. They have no inside, no flip sides. They are not ambiguous. In this, they differ from language, which does not permit things to come into perfectly clear focus. Data and information deliver themselves to total visibility, and they make everything visible. Dataism introduces the second enlightenment. Acts which presuppose a free will belong to the dogmas of the first enlightenment. The second enlightenment smoothens such acts into operations, into a data-driven process, which takes place without any autonomy or dramatic orchestration of the subject. Acts become transparent when they are operationalized, when they submit themselves to computable and controllable processes. Information is a pornographic form of knowledge. It lacks the inwardness which characterizes knowledge. Knowledge also contains negativity in the sense that it is often gained against a resistance. Knowledge has an altogether different temporal structure from that of information. It stretches between past and future. Information, by contrast, dwells in a smoothened out time that is made up of indifferent point-like presences. This is a time without events, et ignis, and destiny. Et ignis. Events. The smooth is something one just likes. It lacks the negativity of opposition. It is no longer an opposing body. Today, communication also becomes smooth. It is smoothened out into a frictionless exchange of information. Smooth communication is free from any negativity of the other or alien. Communication reaches its maximum speed where like reacts to like. The resistance coming from the other disturbs the smooth communication of the same. The positivity of smoothness accelerates the circulation of information, communication, and capital. That's chapter 1, Saving Beauty, Byung-Chul. It gets way intense later, but that is a great intro, and hopefully I will get to chapter 2 soon. So thanks for enjoying. I think there are big ramifications of this for the new generation who don't have a good understanding of the world and how it's been for thousands of years and how it's rapidly changing with all this technology. So thank you to Byung-Chul. I think this is one of his greatest strengths and possibly a personal favorite of mine that he wrote. But he's written a lot, and they are all quite good. They're all worth reading. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed this. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. I'm probably not going to respond, but, this could be like some kind of philosophy book club. All right. Have a good one. Oh, and get ready for that Super Bowl.